Now, usually when I talk to 13-year-olds, Wyatt, it's not about journalism and politics. So what got you into this at such a young age?
It was, I think, kind of the awareness and seeing how, various things that, were happening around me were, actually having an impact, not just on me, but also on my peers and my family members. And I guess one example of that would be about a week before the coronavirus lockdowns kind of started happening. We were in Florida. And we were getting notifications that things like schools would be canceled for the duration of about 2 weeks. Non-essential businesses, rather, would also be closed. And then I was kind of starting to realize how it was having an impact on me. And then, when I got home, I decided to, research a little bit more about it because obviously I had quite a bit of time on my hands. And so yeah, I decided to do some more research about it, and then kind of thought it would be something I would be interested in. And then what I did was I messaged my local member of parliament and I asked a little bit about kind of just what he was doing and what his role was, because at the time I really didn't quite know. And so he explained it to me, and then he messaged our local newspaper. I live in a fairly small community, and got me a column. And then in January of last year, so 2021, I started my show. And since then, I've been able to interview many great people, including Prime Minister Trudeau, Premiers Ford, Kenney, and many more.
And you're doing a great job, Wyatt. I saw your show. Tell us a little bit more about your experience so far in the world of journalism and politics.
Well, I mean, one thing that's been interesting is getting involved in such an unprecedented time, getting involved, during COVID, because, politics isn't always about, what it's been about these last 2 years. These last 2 years, a lot of the news has been centered around COVID. Basically any press conference or media availability that is held, COVID is mentioned at least once or twice, sometimes even more in that media availability. So it's changed the way I've done a lot of things. When I first started, I had to, do my interviews virtually just because of the times we were in. As of recently, now that people are, getting vaccinated and such, I've been, able to have a couple more interviews in person, which has definitely been a lot better because you're able to kind of connect with the person directly in person as opposed to doing it through a computer screen. But it's definitely been, an unprecedented time to, be involved in politics. But it's been very interesting, and just again seeing the impact that some of the current crises is having on people around me.
And taking into consideration this unprecedented time that we're in, we know you're also a student on top of all of this, a student in Ontario. So you just went through the transition of online learning to in-person learning. What has been your experience throughout this pandemic as a student, Wyatt?
It's been relatively the same for, as it would be for my peers and for basically any other student who attends public school in Ontario. It's been, not super ideal having to, make the transition from online learning back to in-person learning numerous times. But just obviously recognizing that, again, these are unprecedented time, unprecedented situations. And so adapting to the situation. But I've really, tried to make the best of it during, the last period that we were doing online learning. I wrote an article, an opinion article for the Toronto Star, expressing some of the concerns that I and some of my peers had. And, that really caught some attention of some people because they liked hearing from, the age demographic that's actually being affected by it, as opposed to sometimes letting adults speak for, the age demographic that's being affected by it. So, I mean, again, it's been an unprecedented time for everyone, but, just making the best out of it is basically the best that you can do in these times.
All right, Wyatt. Well, you did quite a lot throughout this pandemic itself. What would you say to young kids watching you right now in terms of following their dreams and voicing their thoughts and concerns, no matter what age they are?
Journalism allows you to, express the views of elected officials. I mean, politics is, kind of expressing your own views, as opposed to, being a journalist, you get to kind of go through, hear all sides of the story, and, hear the sides of various politicians and what they want. And, being a journalist is fun. And obviously there's sometimes where, it might not be as fun if you maybe you can't get an interview, but even sometimes, not everyone is going to appreciate the work that you do. But I mean, for me, at least, most people haven't. So it's been, a fairly welcoming experience.